But before we do, let's have a catch up because since we last spoke, we had last weekend's huge event over in Saudi Arabia on the 1st of June. It was the 5 versus 5 Queensberry versus Matchroom event. It was a fantastic event, a great night of boxing. It was a long night of boxing as well. And, I wasn't too sure about the concept of promoter versus promoter. I'm glad that they managed to make this happen. I think it's excellent for the sport, and I think we got some really good competitive matchups. I'm not really too sure if there were actually many people that were like fully invested in one team or another. Hopefully not, because that just isn't what boxing is about. It's an individual sport, and we like the fighters that we like. But anyway, it was a great night of action. There was a lot of big winners and then some unfortunate losers. Frank Warren was obviously the biggest winner, I guess. All of his guys won. Alex, what did you make of the event as a whole to start off with before we go on individuals?
You have to say it has to be a success. Just watching those fights, so many split opinions. They said Craig Richards too experienced. What was another fight? Nick Ball versus Raymond Ford. A lot of split. Predictions on that. Yeah, just looking at that card as a whole, it did feel like 50-50 throughout, and it was one-sided when it came to the teams. However, I think I would speak for boxing fans and say we were entertained. It's a great concept, and I can't wait for the next one because it did bring a different type of excitement because it is rival promoters. It is guys that we didn't really foresee them matching up how they did, and I think it's helped growing the sport. Shout out to Turkey Al Sheikh.
Yeah, of course, the man that's making shit happen. We definitely appreciate that. And like I say, it was a unique concept, and I think they're interested in doing more of them. I'm sure Eddie Hearn will want a bit of revenge, no doubt. But yeah, it was quite an interesting concept. But just the whole from the announcement, announcing the fighters was a bit fucking weird when they were unmasking them. I'm not sure if you ever caught that or the replay of that. That was interesting. But let's go on to the fights themselves then. I think I want to ask you who you thought came out the best. Who came out of the event the best? Like there was some good performances. A lot of the fights were kind of close in terms of the odds, but did anyone particularly stand out for you that you thought came out a lot higher up after the fact than at the start?
It's a really good question, right? Because we had I think there's 3 fights that stood out, right? You would say first, Nick Ball and Raymond Ford. I mean, both those guys, it was a close fight, competitive. You could tell both guys were putting on their best showings. A lot of people were split on what they felt the decision was. I felt Nick Ball won, but it was a split decision, and I was okay if Raymond Ford did get the decision because there were just so many rounds where it's like, well, which one do you prefer? You prefer, Nick Ball landing that mean uppercut, or what, or Raymond Ford with the nice, clean, straight punches. It was that type of fight, and I think both those guys, even though one was a winner, one was got the loss. I think both fighters, their stock went up. Everybody, I think, would agree. You want to see them again. And we look forward to the future. Ray Ford said he's moving up. Nick Ball wants that rematch with Ray Vargas. I'm sure they can find some other fights for him as well. So many opportunities, so many options. That's why we enjoy this sport, because with a guy like Turkey Al Sheikh, any fight is possible. Then you have the other 2 performances, right? Hamza, Shiraz. Yep. I mean, got clipped a couple of times with ammo. But he showed he was superior technically and as a complete fighter. The jab, the jab, the jab, the jab. That's why they say it'll take you around the world, because he landed it. It was clean. Ammo tried to go on the inside, started having a little bit of success with just throwing punches. What does Shiraz does? Finds that uppercut, stops Ammo. I think a lot of people, most people were going Shiraz. However, I think it was split on decision or stoppage. That was a beautiful stoppage. Now Shiraz, I think he's the silver titleist for the WBC. Adames owns the WBC world title. But the big talk is Johnny Beck. I think that's what most people are anticipating next. Shiraz with Queensberry, good relationship with Top Rank. Johnny Beck has a fight coming up. So let's run it, man. I think Shiraz, like I said, with that jab, with that height, very good. I would favor Johnny Beck as today. But that's why you have to see the fights. We got to stop doing fantasy fights. Oh, well, that guy's too experienced. That guy's jab's too good. No, they're both Shiraz is coming off a high. Johnny Beck has basically showing that he's most capable of being the number one fighter in that division. Run it. Let's get it. Also, Daniel Dubois, man, a guy with 2 stoppage losses, at a high level. Joe Joyce was able to stop him. I think Dubois was up on the cards. Stop him with a broken orbital bone. Usyk, I think we've mentioned it many times. Boxing's talked about it. Arguably could have stopped Usyk. Doesn't get the stoppage. Gets stopped. Look at this comeback, man. Jarrell Miller stops him in the 10th. Now, undefeated Filip Hrgović. You mentioned it, I believe, in a tweet. They said he was a boogeyman. Well, knock, knock, knock. Daniel Dubois is pulling you out from beneath that bed, underneath that closet. We have a new monster, and AJ's the big talk. I don't see how they do not make that fight next, unless for some reason something happens to Usyk or Fury. I think that's the most logical fight. They're talking about doing a card in the UK. Both of them are UK fighters. Oh my gosh! I mean, talk about explosive fight, dynamite. That's what I would expect between AJ and Dubois. I got AJ winning, but can't count this man out. Dubois is 26 years old, young, hungry heavyweight that's on the rise. AJ's been in that position before. He knows what he's going to be facing. I think we haven't had this confidence in AJ in a long time. Make the matchup, please. Turkey, you are the man. Stay the man. We definitely want to see that fight. So I would just say with those guys, you could pick any of them. But I definitely think Nick Ball and Raymond Ford, I think they were the biggest winners to me together.
Okay, that's cool. Personally, I've heard loads of praise for Dubois, and I think he was possibly the one that was probably the most expected to lose out of all of the fights. Potentially, I might be getting that wrong, but obviously Hrgović is this supposed monster who was great technically, and he should have been kind of further ahead of the game than he has been. Maybe I know he had issues outside the ring, and you touched on that in our previous stream, but. Hey, great performance by Dubois. He went and smashed him to pieces and got the stoppage. And he comes out, despite a couple of pretty bad defeats, it just shows you that, you can quickly turn around your career with a good few victories and you get right back up there. Losses don't really matter, or they shouldn't matter as much as people think that they do.
Matters how you bounce back.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's bounced back nicely, and it was a great win. I just having a quick look into the chat. Boz is with us as usual. Great to have you here, Boz. Thanks, ever present. He's suggesting that Hrgović got tired. Probably did, but he also got smashed in the face quite a lot as well. Heavy Chevy guy. Thanks for being here again. It's good to have you back. Dubois deserves a title shot. What next for him? So yeah. Alex was just mentioning there that potentially AJ Anthony Joshua is the fight to be made there, and a lot of noises are being talked about that fight. And you know what? Ahead of that 5 versus 5, I don't think that was a matchup that was ever being considered, was it really? Joshua's maybe waiting on Tyson Fury to be finished with Usyk before they make that massive fight. But now, Dubois, he's propelled himself up there, and that is now a viable fight that could take place and should take place. But could that be quite risky for Joshua? Do you think that could be a stumbling block? Because Dubois obviously is a big puncher. It's for Joshua, it seems like a high risk and little reward fight, whereas for Dubois, it's another big opportunity for him. What do you think of that, Alex? Could that put a stop to it?
I mean, we just talked about it. One loss don't knock you off the horse. If he does lose, who's to say he can't come back, fight one or two more times, and be right there? So I mean, Dubois, like Heavy Chevy asked, did he deserve a title shot? How could he not? Hrgovic, like I said, was a guy they said is feared.
Big contender.
A guy in position already. Dubois takes that position. He has the interim IBF. So if you want to look through sanctioning bodies, he deserves it. He's been impressive. Even in his losses, he's shown that he can compete. This is a guy that's never been just smacked around and has never been a no-hoper. You know what I mean? And so, but he deserves an AJ shot or undisputed shot. Hey, if he wants a gimme, fuck it. He's 26 years old. He's had tough, the Jarrell Miller had to be tough mentally. Hrgovic, like I said, that was seen as near the highest level. He deserves whatever he can get. Yeah. If he can get a co-feature on a Turkey fight or a homecoming in the UK, AJ, all that, he deserves whatever he wants because he's taking on the fights, he's taking on the risk, and he's winning, and impressively. Yeah, with AJ, listen, man, this is what you're here for. You're here to compete. I think AJ needs something, right? Mm-hmm. I think he's getting close to mastering his mentality. You've seen it. He's mean at these last two fights, right? Valine and Ngannou. Like, before he'd be like, very well spoken, giving long answers. But AJ with the short, sniping answers, that's a dangerous AJ. He seems to be in form. Capitalize on it because it could heavyweights, man. It doesn't matter. He could fight Dubois or he could fight some other guy. Another guy is one punch changes it all. So you're here for the big bucks. You're here for the glory. You're here to prove that you're one of the best. You take on these type of fights to prove all that in one shot and keep it going. So why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think AJ himself would probably want that. The risks already heard. Maybe that's what might be the stumbling block if he has the final say. So I don't know, but interesting nonetheless. Boz says it'd be interesting to see how AJ would handle the power and physicality of Dubois. I think it's a really intriguing fight, an interesting one as well. I also see that Josh has piped up in the chat. Thanks for tuning in, Josh. If you're able to do so, Josh. We miss you here, but we'll see you again soon. No doubt about it. Heavy Chevy guy also says he doesn't see any losers when Turkey is paying these guys millions to come fight. Absolutely, that's the other fact. If they're going to get money thrown at them to face each other, so just get it done.
I mean, bro, look at Jarrell Miller, lost to Dubois. Now he's fighting Andy Ruiz. Junior Fa fought. Who did he fight first? He's had two fights in Saudi, right? I know he fought, or maybe just one, but he could get brought back easily. Or look at guys that have risen. Caballel, right? Caballel is a guy that now we know who he is because of these opportunities.
Yeah, correct.
So this is why this is great. Now Turkey's bringing the show on the road. He's going to LA in August. He wants to go to London, I think Wembley, right? In September. I mean, this for boxing, we need to take advantage of this because this can help change the game to help boxing give us the best fights, the competitive fights, and help grow the sport. So where getting these high level fights is a more consistent thing, which we have been getting the last year and a half.
Yeah. We have. Let's hope that it continues as well, because obviously, as boxing fans, we're the one that's enjoying it. After years of just saying like, why can't we get all the best fighting the best? Now hopefully it's come to that, but that's probably because the money's being thrown at it. Again, I'm just looking through the comments here. Heavy Chevy guy says Dubois could be dangerous for AJ.
Hell, let's get it. Let's see it, man. Let's normalize dangerous fights. Like, you know what I mean? Normalize it. That's what we want. You know what I understand if they want, like I said, with Dubois, if they want to do a little layup, sure. Yeah. But we still should see the AJ fight. You know what I mean? Or who's, let's not do, 2 or 3 in between. If you want to get a little layup, get it over with. That's what they should do back in the 80s. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Why can't we normalize that?
Yeah. Buzz again there thinks Dubois is easy to hit, but will probably get smashed by AJ. But you never know. And exactly, you don't know until it actually happens in the ring. So
yeah, he was getting smashed by that right hand, and Hergovich started spamming it for some reason. And like a lot of people believe, he gassed out. I mean, you had to say he did. Then he got cut, and that energy sat quick. You know, shout out Dubois for, you know, throwing punches, headbutt, clinch. It got him the win. Hey, if it's allowed, you're going to do what you got to do, because you can't be playing any games in there. It's a fight. Things are going to happen. We saw that with Fundora's Zoo. Zoo was beating the shit out of Fundora, you know, runs himself into an elbow. And now it's a completely different fight, and you got to fight through it. And then you learn about a fighter, you know, limitations, how tough he is. You know, Zoo showed he was limited, but he was also, you know, elite toughness.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, before we continue on with this card, there's just a couple more talking points on there. Just a quick note that there are some instructions on the screen. We are going to get to our fight pretty soon that we're going to watch and score all together. So if you want to be part of our scoring group, make sure you do register at fight-score.com. Make sure that you join our live stream group. You just need to enter a code, which is there on the screen. It's FSYT22. So once you're a registered member, there's a group section in the menu. Go up to there, click the button that's add a new group, or join a group, sorry. You enter that code, and then you'll be right in there. You don't have to do it again. You're in our scoring group forever. Once we start scoring fights, you'll see the scorecards coming up when you go into that group. You'll be able to see our scorecards. You'll be able to compare scorecards at your own leisure, and we'll also have an average scorecard for all of us in that group for each fight that we all score. So it is really interesting, really useful tool. You can create your own groups if you wanted to do so with your friends, family, boxing friends, groups, whatever you want to do. So yeah, the instructions are also in the description of the video to help get you there. We'll be starting our stream scoring soon for the fight, but let's continue on with this 5 versus fight. Obviously, there was another huge heavyweight contest, and maybe we might have just seen the last of Wilder, as you predicted and as Josh predicted, really, that it wasn't going to go very long. Maybe it went a little bit longer than Josh was predicting, but in the 5th round, Zhang eventually got to Deontay Wilder, got the stoppage. It was a pretty heavy knockdown, and Wilder was kind of all over the place. It was a weird move that he did, where he ended up with his back to him, and then he was on the deck the next second. Pretty sad to see, but he's had a great career, whether he continues or not. What did you make of it, Alex? Performances? What next for Wilder? What next for Zhang?
I mean, next for Wilder, man. It's up to him. Great career, exciting, really helped revitalize that heavyweight division. Had a great trilogy. I think a trilogy a lot of people put as one of the great heavyweight trilogies as well. So,
yeah.
But listen, I don't know if it's the coach. I don't know if it's personal reasons. I don't know if it's physical. But obviously, it's not the same Wilder for maybe one or multitude of reasons. If he wants to retire, perfect. If he wants to fight on, I would personally suggest dropping a couple levels, maybe gain that confidence back, maybe try to work on the things you seem to be wanting to work on, because at the top level, it's tough to introduce new things and not get it live action to really work out the kinks. Yeah, you know, we saw him doing that crazy ass spin move. I couldn't believe that was a real thing, because then he did it in another clip, and then we kind of see it in the fight. But shout out Zhang, man. Big Bang Zhang. He said he was gonna bang him, and Wilder got banged. You know, he's an older guy, 40 years old, unsure exactly where he fits in the picture. We've seen him, you know, you put him with someone that stands in front of him, or that's, you know, not as technically good as him, he's probably gonna punch you out. You see a guy with a little bit of movement, high, you know, waist movement, like Joe Parker, gives him problems, especially because his gas tank isn't the best. He is, you know, 270, 280, 290 plus. That's a big body, 6'6". So, I mean, you would think maybe the Joe Parker rematch, you know, would they dare do something like, yeah, it was crazy, Josh. You would wonder, are they going to try something like Caballel? A lot of options, man. Shout out Turkey. We'll see. We'll be watching. But Big Bang Sang, man, another KO win.
Yeah, and another one that just goes to show after that defeat previously, one more victory and bang, no pun intended, but straight back up there. And it's really interesting, just that level down from Usyk and Fury, I guess, is the top two. And then you've got maybe Joshua. Well, then, Josie Parker's now propelled himself up there. Zhang's back up there. Dubois now back up there. Just that next level down from those top guys. The heavyweight pitches, it's really interesting, isn't it? There's a lot of good matchups to be made there. I tweeted about it that the heavyweight landscape seems to be the one that just shifts and changes within short amounts of time dramatically.
But you know how we got here? They had to fight each other.
Exactly.
That's how you find out. Like welterweight, there's a couple guys left. Now it's like, oh well, Boots is the best. Okay, sure. He has to fight his way to it. Can't just hand it to him. And people are like, well, welterweight's shallow. Well, if they fight each other, I bet you that whole perspective changes, because that's what happened at 154 when Jermell was when he unified and undisputed. A lot of people were like, oh, 154, there's some pretty decent guys. This guy won, he got beat by another guy. That guy got by another one, and then someone unifies. Now that division's deep, they say, because those guys fought each other. You have a multitude of, multiple former champions, and then you have one champion. Now you're seeing as deep. That's how you do it. You have to fight the fights. Stop giving these guys victories without them fighting them.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move things along. Well, just before we do the last word on that one, I guess heavy guy. I guess this is it makes sense. Wilder Zhang fight made him happy and sad all at the same time. Yeah. Let's move things along, shall we? Also, Bivol got a win on that card, expected. We don't need to dwell on that. He got a stoppage in round 6. And early on in the card, Willie Hutchinson got a unanimous decision over Craig Richards. I didn't see that myself. Can't really comment too much on that. But I think that was another upset win, wasn't it? I think Richards was a slight favourite in that.
Yep.
Contest. So that's a good win for Hutchinson. I think there's been talk since then of him potentially facing possibly
Buatsi. He's been ordered.
Buatsi, yeah.
Because Yardy boy.
And Yard.
Letting the fans down a little bit, man.
Yeah, that's not progressed for whatever reason, has it? So yeah, Willie Hutchinson versus Buatsi. That could be an interesting fight. So one to keep an eye on there.